something that is human nature. What happens when you take the Christ out of Christmas? You end up with just the miss of Christmas. You just miss everything. So much that even the celebration goes from Christmas to the Christmas holiday, to the Christmas holiday season, to the holiday season, to the season. Happy holiday season. Season's greeting. Of what? Of what? Imagine people are having a birthday celebration for somebody, and they get really into the celebration, but they don't want to mention the name of the person. They don't want to talk about the person. They just want to give gifts, and not to the person. They give gifts to each other and don't want to mention his name because it's his birthday. That's exactly what Christmas has become. Losing the very center, the reason. And when you lose the center, you go off on tangents. It becomes the season of the holiday, of the celebration of everything but him. Even in a conversation, you've been in a conversation, you get off on a tangent. We say, wait, we're on a tangent. Then you get off on a tangent of a tangent of a tangent. We're on a tangent. Well, we forgot what we were talking about. Well, that and the same thing with Christmas. It's become a tangent of a tangent of a tangent and forgetting the whole point of the whole thing. It's like you're driving on a road, you take a wrong turn, then you take another wrong turn, and another wrong turn, and soon you have no idea where you are. Christmas has become that in the world. You have the world's Christmas, and then you have the real Christmas. People talk about the commercialization of Christmas. And they say, we got to get back to the meaning, but somehow you notice the world never gets back to it. It stays in the realm of tangent. So in the Lord, don't think it can't happen in the Lord. The celebration of Christmas that has nothing to do with the Christ or the Messiah, what happened in Bethlehem, somehow it got separated. That can happen in the Lord too. And we think it's all the world. It's not. It's a human nature thing. How we so often as we lose sight of the main thing and we get lost in everything else. And we lose the reason why we're here. The reason, it could be even in ministry, you could be ministering and you lose the reason of it. Losing the center. How we start out with something, just as Christmas did. You start out with a real thing. You start out loving the Lord. After a while, you kind of forget you get caught up in everything but that. You lose, just as Christmas lost the reason. We can lose the reason why we worship, the reason why we serve, the reason why we live. Lost in tangents. Christmas is a demonstration, is a sign for us. We end up living in the world that's about Jesus, but it's not Jesus. This faith is not about him. It is him. It says to live. He didn't say to live. Paul didn't say for me to live is about Jesus or Messiah. He said for me to live is Messiah. This is the story of two Christmases. The world's Christmas and the real one. And when you compare the two, you'll see something that has to do with every part of your life. And I want to look at that. What do we see in the real Christmas or the real birth of Messiah? We see real people, Mary, Joseph, the angels, shepherds. And you notice on that day, nobody lost sight of the purpose. Everybody had their eyes on him. He was the center. They said, come, the whole thing, see the baby. They focused on that. Mary, Joseph focused on that. The shepherds focused on it. The angels did. It wasn't just about him. It was him. The world's Christmas is a popular holiday. Everybody, I said even in communist China, they celebrate Christmas. Do you know that? Even in their Muslim countries that actually do that. But the real Christmas was not popular, is never popular. In the time of the real Christmas, remember, they could not even find room to have their child. It was not popular. And that's exactly what's happened. Everything happened outside. People were crowded in the inn, and they were outside in this place, in this nothing place. And so the real Christmas happens outside the world, outside what's popular, outside what the world says is in. There was no room at the inn. What's in with the world is usually out with God. And what's in with God is usually out with the world. Today, and just as there was no room for him 2,000 years ago, even today, even with Christmas, there's no room for him in Christmas. There's no room, there's no in for him in Christmas. This year, a memo went out to members of Congress that they were no longer allowed in their letters to use the words Merry Christmas. Members of Congress, this was the committee that said this is not proper anymore. Messiah is always outside Christmas. Bethlehem is always outside Christmas and outside the world. The presence of God is always dwelling outside. And that's why if you really want to find God, you have to step outside of all the busyness and get into the quiet. To quiet with God, outside the camp, outside the gate, not caring what's popular, because God is never the real in. You know, in high school, some of you wanted to be in the in crowd. But the thing is that, you know, there's only one in, and that's with God. And everything else is outside. It doesn't matter what the world's in. Who cares about the world's in? It's where God is. Another thing we learn about Christmas